Hi, it's Anna Haferman. Today we're going to make an ear flap hat, and this is a kid's hat that isn't super hard. And if you have followed some of my videos before, you already have some of the skills required to do this hat. Before I get into that, I want to thank everyone who gave to the YouTube thanks, the Buy Me a Coffee, and the people who joined my channel as members. Your support really does help me to make more videos, and I really appreciate it. So thank you very much. So to start, I'm going to use waste yarn, and the yarn I'm using today is this Premier Basix DK. This is a number 3 or DK weight yarn. It may be called something different in your home country, so it's just a yarn that works really well on the LK150. And I've got it, I'm actually using the blue as the waste yarn. These are all that Premier DK. I just happen to have a bunch wound up, so I'm going to use the blue as a waste yarn. So I've got the waste yarn threaded, and I'm going to pull 43 to 43 on my needle bed. And this hat will fit a kid. I'm at tension 4, and now I'll push every other needle back to position A, or non-working position. And I knit one row with the waste yarn. And then I'll need 2 pieces of my cast on comb hooked together. If you have the KX350, you'll need both. And I'm going to try this backwards today, what I consider backwards, because one of my students in my in-person class did this the other day, and it seemed to work really well. It hangs on pretty nicely. And then freeing the yarn over here is a lot easier than it is the other way. So then I'll pull the needles that I pushed back into work. I'm going to remember to get that 43 on this side because I pushed it back before. So you just need to remember. It won't matter too much on this hat, but on some things it will matter. So now I'll hang the weights on the comb. And I'll do about 8 or 10 rows of waste yarn. And then my hat is going to be dark pink and the stripes are going to be light pink. So I'll thread the dark pink. So I'm on tension 4 and I'm going to reset the row counter. And what I'm doing now is the part of the hat I'm doing now is this part. So it's the inner brim. And if you have done any of the hats in my video, we've hung hems a lot. So you're probably familiar with this. So this is 32 rows. And this is, you know, from the knit side, but this is going to be 32 rows. Then we'll do these ear flaps. And then we'll knit the stripes, and then we'll hang the hem. So we'll start with the 32 rows, just of whatever your main color is. 30, 31, 32. Now we're done with this inner brim. So we've done now the inside of the brim, and that was those 32 rows. Then we'll do these ear flaps before we do the rest of the stripes and hang the hem. So what we need to do is mark out where the ear flaps go. Now, between In the front of the hat here is 24 stitches. Each ear flap was 21 at the top. And then in the back, each side, that's where the seam is, each side has 10 stitches. So I'm going to mark that out on my needle bed. So it'll be easy. So I'll go from the right, I'll go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and then mark that 11th needle, which is number 33, and 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 21, which is number 13, and that's going to be our ear flap. And then I'll draw a line just so I know that's where my ear flap is. And this is a washable marker. So then I'll go over here and get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 and mark that one, which should be number 13, just like this one is number 13. And then I'll count out 21. And so let's see, I'll count out 21, and we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 21. And that should be number 12, just like, I'm sorry, number 13, just like this one is number 13. So then the second ear flap is going to go from here to here. And this is really just to help you pick the needles to do the ear flaps. And we should have 24 stitches in the middle. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. So we're all set. And now what we'll do is put the carriage on hold on both sides. That means go to this one here on both sides. And then we will, what we want to do is get to here so we can start working on this first ear flap. So I want to, but I don't want to work over here. So I'm going to put the needles from 12 all the way to the side in hold. And so then what I'll do, I'm in hold, I'm going to knit a row. And then now I want to put everything on this side of the ear flap in hold. So now we'll start working the flap right here. So what I'll do, and this is pretty similar to short rowing a sock heel, I'm going to put this first needle in hold, knit a row. First needle in hold, knit a row. And I'm saying first needle, I mean the one on the carriage side. Not that one. This one. And I'll want to put some weight under here because it's getting a little bigger in the middle. So put first one in hold. Okay, and then this side. And closest to the carriage in hold. Closest to the carriage and hold, and keep moving those weights so you don't drop anything. And then the next one, hold, next one, hold, and just keep doing that. We're going to go down to 3. A sock heel, you usually go down to thirds, but we want this pointier, so we're just going down more needles, more stitches. So okay, So now we're down to 3. I just pulled that last one out. I'm going to start pushing these back now. So what I did was I pulled that to hold, the closest one, and now I'm pushing the closest one to me on the other side of the carriage to upper working position. And then I'll do that on each side. So what I'm doing is every time, wherever the carriage is, I'm pulling that one back into work. And so what's happening here is we're getting a little flap. So and you don't have to wrap this because it's a flap of a hat, so it doesn't really matter if there's little eyelets. It'll actually help it lay a little flatter. So we're just going to continue. And this is why I marked this out, so I know where to stop. All right, now I'm going to get that one. And get this one. So I finished my first flap, and there it is. My yarn now is coming from here. And now what I need to do is push. What I want to do is knit across and then start doing my second ear flap over here. So what I need to do then is, these are already in working position, so I need to put the ones in the middle in upper working position. I don't want to push them all the way back, all the way to working position, because the needles will fall off. So that's why we use upper working position. And now then I also want to do the first row of the flap. So I'm going to put those to upper working position as well. So I'm going to knit across. And now I want to do the first row of the ear flap, the second row of the ear flap, but I don't want these to knit, so I'm going to put those, not that one, those to hold. And I'm just going to put that back on the needle so we understand what's happening here. So I want these in working position because I want those to knit. I want everything else in hold because I just want to work on that flap the same way I did this one. So I'm going to do it the same. I'm going to put the first needle in, the closest needle in hold. Then I'm going to put the closest to the carriage in hold. So I'm just doing the same over here as I did over here. Pushing that one. And I'm making sure to keep weight on it because I don't want it to, I don't want my stitches to fall off. So I'm going to knit one there. Now I'm going to put that one in hold. Now I only have 3 here. At the same time, I'm going to push that one back to upper working position. And this one. This time I'm doing the needle That's opposite the carriage. And when it starts doing this, you want to really hold that down. And now there's my second flap. So what I want to do now is knit the rest of this row. So what I've done, I knit those first. I did the ear flap, then I knit those. Then I went over there and I knit the ear flap. And now I want to knit from here to the end. So I want everything from here to here in working or upper working position. So I'm just going to knit one row across, and now these can come back because now we're going to start. So what we've done here is the inner brim, then we did the flaps, and now we're starting on the stripes. So the stripes are 8 rows each. So I'm going to do 8 rows of pink to start. So that's where it's going to, the hem, when we fold it up, that's the bottom. So we're going to do these 8 rows. So I can reset my row counter. Do 8 rows. And then I'll change yarn to this one. So I'll take this out of the feeder and park it over on the other side of the machine. And then I'll thread this one. And I'm going to just carry this yarn up as I go. So let's see how that works. So I'm going to hold it down. First, I'm going to put a clip on this. And I just want to carry this up as I go. So I'm going to knit. I'm just holding it to the side. Just going to hold it to the side like that. Do 1, 2 rows. And then I'm just going to put it inside that needle so that it just gets carried out. 3, 4, 5, 6. So every 2 rows, I'm just pulling that out and kind of just sticking it on the hook. 7, 8. So now I want to switch to the other yarn. So I'll take the pink one, the lighter pink one out and put the darker pink one. And I want to do 8 rows. And I'm holding this out because I want to carry that up too. This way I don't have big loops or, you know, holes. So I'll do 1, 2, just hooking that in, 3, 4, hooking it in, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so now I want to change to the other yarn. So I'm going to try to avoid crossing them up here. So I'll take that this way. That one's going to go in the carriage. And then this one I'm just holding so it's out of the way. And I'm going to do 1, 2. I'm hooking it in there. I'm not knitting it in. I'm just hooking it there so it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is just to avoid cutting it so I don't have to weave stuff in at the end. And then I don't have a big loop with loose stitches there. So it's kind of woven in. And so now we've got the 32 rows, which is this. And then we'll hang this hem. So that we do just like we always do. So we'll take these off. Okay, so I'm just taking the comb off too, because I don't need it. And you see now I have this kind of goofy looking thing here, which looks really ridiculous, but I'll just push those in that way. And then those are my ear flaps. So what I'll do is hang, and so when this hem hangs, they'll lie flat like that. So I'll just go here and hang this hem. So I'm just going to put, I'm taking these stitches and putting them on the needles. And I've done this in a lot of my videos, but basically it's this pink bar of yarn next to the blue. The blue is waste yarn and it's not going to be in the final project. So we're just going to go like that and hang them all the way across the needle bed. Now you will be one short at the end, and that's exactly how it's supposed to be, because these are actually bars between stitches, so there's one less than stitches on needles. And now I'm going to do 28 rows, but because I have 2 stitches on all these needles, I'm just going to pull them all out to position E, and then I'm going to flip my carriage off hold on both sides. And I have this pink tail of yarn that I want to weave in, so I'm going to do that. I'm just going to go, I'm weaving it under and over these needles so that I don't have to weave it in at the end. So, and I could have done that with this one, but I didn't think of it. So, and now I'm going to do 28 rows, I think. I'm already setting the row counter, so I'm going to do 28. One. And now the hem is hung. So then I'll just keep going to 28. So I've got 28 rows, and I've decided that that's how tall I want my hat. So if you want a different size, you can easily add stitches and rows, but you'll also have to figure out where to put the flaps. The back is a little shorter than the front because your ears are kind of back on your head a little bit, so that's why that is. So now we're just going to take we're going to transfer every other needle, which we've done on so many of the hats that I've done. It's just a good way to end a hat on the knitting machine because you can gather the stitches. now I have every stitch transferred to its neighbor, every other stitch transferred to its neighbor, and I want to make sure that the ones that are empty go all the way back so they don't knit again. I just want to knit on these. And then I'm going to do 1, 2, I'm actually going to do 3 rows because I want to sew this off, and I'm right-handed and it's going to be a lot easier for me. So I'll need a piece of yarn that will stretch across. So I'll cut that, cut my yarn. And take the yarn out of the feeder, and then I'll just thread this. This is a transfer tool, but you can use a darning needle or tapestry needle, whatever you have. So I have these work, anything like that. And then all I do is just go in the front of each stitch and pull the yarn through. So you could do them one at a time if you want, but so you could do it like that. But I find it's easier to just get a few on the needle before you pull the yarn through. It just saves a little time. Okay, so there's the hat. Of course, we're not done. First, we'll take the waste yarn off. So to take the waste yarn off, go over here to the side that doesn't have the long threads and just cut that first stitch. So only cut the blue yarn. Don't cut any pink yarn. Only blue, because the blue is going to get thrown away. Then go over here and take this tail, not the one you started with, but the one on top, and pull. And it'll gather up like that, but it's coming out of it'll come out because we cut it. So let's keep going. And then, okay, so that yarn is free. So then all you need to do is pull this off. And that's the inside. Then this is the outside. So then we mattress stitch. Now when you mattress stitch, and I've showed this in a lot of videos, but when you mattress stitch, you go from here. Okay, so what happens is, this is the back of the hat, right? And you sew it up like this. So this part goes there and this part goes there. So these go together and this goes together. So I've sewn it all up now. There's my seam down the back. And then I'm going to take the thread that I seamed with and stick it inside the hat. And then I'll take the thread on the top and just start gathering. So I'll just close the top by pulling the yarn in and out. And then when I secure it, when I'm done, I'll just put that yarn inside and tie it to the other yarn that I used to seam with. And I'll stick that right in there. Then I can just tie these two together and use that to either sew on a pom-pom or sew on a button, whichever I decide. So I'll just leave that like that for now. Now I want to do the cords for the end of the ear flap. So what I did was I actually had another ball of yarn rolled up. If you don't, just roll off, make a smallish ball of yarn. And then I'm going to put 2 strands through the feeder at once, because I want this to be a little thicker. I don't want them to be floppy. So I'm just putting that in the feeder. And then I'm going to do that. I'm going to go down to about tension 3 for this. So I've got 2 strands and I'm at about tension 3. Then I'm going to take my 3-prong tool, and from the inside I'm going to, on each of the flaps, so there's that, I'm going to go in to, there's 3 stitches on the end, so just try to do this neatly. And I'm going to try to do this sort of like that. So I've got a couple strands of yarn in between there. So then I'll take that and put that on 3 of these needles. Okay, so now they're on the needle. And so I'll set the carriage on this side. It's going to be set on the circle, or P on the KX350. This side is N and N. And this side is circle 2. So triangle 2, circle 2. And so now we'll just do an I cord. I'm going to reset the row counter. And then I will knit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what's happening is knitting that way and slipping this way, so it creates a little tube. And just tension that with your hand. And for a kid, you don't want to make these too long. You really just kind of want them long enough to sort of hang over the side. So that they can maybe tie lightly under their chin. So about, like, let's see, 39, 41. Okay, so I'm at row 49. Now what I'll do is I will take this stitch and move it over. And then I'll take this one. It's actually 2 strands of yarn on there. So I'll push this needle back and then I'll knit, and then I'm just going to do that and pull that yarn out and cut it. And I'll do that same thing on the other side. So there it is. I sewed the pom-poms to both ends, and I have a pom-pom on top. I think it came out really cute. Let me know if you have any questions. If you decide to make it, let me know. Thanks. Bye.